Welcome you all to today's video lecture, and today we start one of the important topic in control system theory is known as stability. So this is your chapter number 6 of control system engineering by Norman Nice. So let's start it. Now the first thing is um, when we see the requirement when we want to design some control system for any type of system, so we need some specification, and that includes transient response of the system. That also includes the stability and steady state error. So these three basic things that we normally have, that is transient response, stability and steady state error. So the most of the important one is the stability. When we have stability, then we can look at transient response and steady state. If we don't have the stability in the system, so we are unable to go for other specifications. So this is very important. When we look at output of the response in previous chapter where we discussed the time analysis, so we can have this equation that response depends upon forced response and plus the natural response. So these are two parts of the response. So now we start the defining what is stability. So what is stability? Now basically if we look at we say that a linear time invariant system is stable. So if the natural response approaches zero as time approaches infinity. So this is very important concept that says that this stability information is basically deals with the your natural response. So means that it's not with the force response but the natural response that is due to the poles of the system or modes of the system. So if it is decreasing, or in other words, your for natural response your energy within the system is decreasing, so this means that you are moving towards the stability of the system, in other words, system is stable. So the next uh, definition, that is towards the instability, and it says that if a linear time invariant system is unstable if the natural response grows without bound as time approaches infinity. So if natural response keep on growing, so this means that your system is unstable, it has more energy, it's difficult to control it. Okay, so now the last term, that is actually lie between stability and instability of the system, is known as marginally stable. So what is marginally stable? Marginally stable means that a linear system, a time invariant system, is marginally stable if the natural response either decays or nor grows but remain constant or oscillates at time approaches to infinity. So marginally stable is something which is not growing but it is not also die down. So we say that these are marginally stable, but these the systems are very sensitive. If you give some input, that can accelerate its growth and it can go to instability. So that's why it is called marginally stable. So they are stable, they are at the margin of stability and instability of the system. So three definition we look at: first is the stability, second is unstable, and third is marginally stable. For stable, we easily say that if natural response decays, we say that system is stable. If natural response is not decaying as time increases, we say unstable. If you have a response that is not decaying but is also not increasing, okay, so it has some constant value, or in other words it is oscillating, we can say that this is a margin stable system. So these are very important specifications for any type of system. So we can define stability in terms of inputs or in signals. We say that a system is stable if every bounded input yields a bounded output. If we look at in terms of response, we can say that system stability is defined when we give it a bounded input and we get a bounded output, then we say that this system is stable. So this is also known as Bibo stability. Okay, definition of Bibo stability, that is bounded input and bounded output. So we normally use a lot this definition in signal and systems when we discuss signals and systems. So we use same definition here. So basically stability means that if some system's energy is decreasing with time, we can say that this is a stable system. If this is not the case, then system is unstable. So remember, this is only we look at the energy when we are not giving any input to the system. Okay, when we give input to the system, so this means that we are providing some energy to the system, and in that case energy is not decaying, it is within the system. Okay, so have to be very careful about when we say that system is stable or unstable in terms of energy. Okay, now so now the thing is, so a system is unstable in terms of a response. We can say that a system is unstable if any bounded input yields an unbounded output. So in that case, system is unstable. For example, if you give a circuit an input that is bounded and circuit is lost, so means that your system is unstable. Okay. Now, let me summarize these definitions, which are very, very important, and we discuss these definitions for linear time invariant system using the natural response. Okay, so the basic idea is the using the natural response of the system, and we say that a system is stable if the natural response approaches to zero as time approaches infinity. So this is the first one, that natural response zero approaches zero means that we are talking about a stable system. If natural response is not approaching zero, means it approaching infinity, that means that we are talking about unstable system. Similarly, a natural response neither decays neither grows, then we are talking about marginally stable system. Okay, so using the total response, if we look at the total response, that includes the forcing input. In previous definition, this is only natural response, but here we also have the input to the system. So in that case, we define the stability as a bibostability, that is bounded input and bounded output. So before the in definition, we didn't give any input to the system. Now, if we are giving input to the system, but this input must be a bounded one, not an unbounded input. Okay. So for example, a system is stable if every bounded input yields a bounded output. So this is the one. So you have a bounded input, bounded output. Now, unstable if you have a bounded input but you have unbounded output. So in that case, system is unstable. So I give you an example. What do you mean by a bounded input? So for example, you have a circuit, and with some circuit rating, it says that you cannot apply a voltage more than 250 volts, and you apply 500 volts to the system. So in that case, that 500 becomes an unbounded input. So you need a bounded input that is within the operating range of that circuit. So in that case, this is a bounded input. Okay. So basically, if you look at physically, what do you mean by unstable system? So physically means that can damage, provide damage to the system when you give a bounded input to the system. Now, how we find the stability of the system? So normally when we look at the transfer function, we can use that transfer function information to identify the system stability. So the system stability is identified in terms of transfer function using the S-plane. So S-plane has two half planes. One is known as left half plane and other is known as right half plane. Or in other words, you have to look at the closed loop poles of the system, not open loop. Be careful, you have to look at the closed loop poles of the system. So closed loop means that if there is a feedback path in the system, you have to solve that and find the closed loop form of the system. That's why we study last chapter about the reduction of the system block diagram, so that we can calculate the closed loop system, closed loop poles of the system to identify the stability of the system. So stable system has closed loop transfer function with poles in the left half plane. So if the values of the pole is negative, we can say that system is a stable system. If pole location is at the positive or right of plane, we can say that system is unstable. Thus, if a system have a closed loop transfer that at least one pole in the right of plane or poles of the multiple greater than one in the imaginary axis, so means that system is unstable. So what about the marginally stable system? Marginally stable system is the one which has poles on the geomag axis. Then we can say that this is a marginally stable system. So we just complete the definition. We can say that thus a marginally stable system has closed loop transfer pole with only imaginary axis poles of multiplicity 1 or poles in the left of plane. So the main idea is we can say that system is marginally stable if you have poles at least one pair on the geomag axis or a single pole at the origin. We can say that this is a marginally stable system, and remaining poles must be either there's no remaining pole. If there are remaining pole, they must be at the left of plane. So be careful. For instability, you require only one pole that is in the left of plane, right of plane. Remember this, you required only one pole which has positive values, okay, or in other words which has in right of plane. For stability, you need all poles for to be in the left of plane. For marginally stable system, you need a pair on the imaginary axis and remaining pole on the left of plane, or a single pole on the geomag axis. For example, if you have two pair of the imaginary poles on the geomag axis, again system is unstable. Or you have more than one pole at the origin, again system is unstable. So this is very important things that you need to know. Now let's look at a system here, and this system has a transfer function. This is an open loop transfer function, that is 3 divided by s into s plus 1 times s plus 2. Now there's a feedback path with a gain 1, so we need to calculate the closed loop transfer function first between C and R. When we do that, we have the pole locations that closed loop poles are two imaginary poles and one at real axis, but they are at the left of plane, so this means that this is a stable system. When we give an step input to the system, because we know that these poles are geomag axis, so these are underdamped system, so it has this is also a dominant pole, so it has a second order behavior with oscillations in it, okay, with an overshoot as well. So if we look at another example to clarify ourselves, look here, this is another example, and if you look here at this g of s, if I calculate the poles, there's a one pole for open loop system is at 0, other is -1, other is -2. We can say that is a margin stable, but we have to write the closed loop transfer function. Closed loop transfer function give us the different poles. So it is very important to note that you have to always go for closed loop poles. Okay, so for this system, closed loop poles are two imaginary poles at the right of plane, means that they have positive real value with complex values. So this means that this is a unstable system. When I give a step input to the system, it will grows. Okay, so it is not decreasing but it is increasing. So this is a unstable example. Now after that, now the thing is these are very easy examples where we can solve. Now look here, this is a transfer function. Now we have to identify that about the closed loop poles. Now what we do, we have to calculate the closed loop transfer function. Now we calculate the closed loop transfer function and this becomes a closed loop transfer function. Now here is the problem. Problem is that we are unable to calculate the roots and identify that this is stable or unstable. So now if we look at this whole polynomial that has a power of s5. Now it's very difficult to comment on the stability of the system unless we know the roots. Now how we can do that? So first thing is, if you look at a polynomial like this in the denominator, so this is also known as characteristic equation, because when we put this denominator equal to 0, we call it as a characteristic equation that gives you the characteristics of the system, that tell you the poles of the system, that makes the characteristics of the system. So that's why if we put denominator equal to 0 is also known as characteristic equation. Now, first thing is, if you look at this polynomial and you find any change in the sign of the polynomial, for example, this is positive, this is these are all positive, so you are unable to comment on the stability. If you find any difference in the sign, for example, if it is minus here, plus here, you easily say that this is unstable, because it has at least one pole at the right of plane. But here we are unable to say or comment on the stability of the system. So we need some method that can use to determine the stability of the system. So that method we will study in this chapter. Okay. So that method is known as Routh-Hurwitz criteria. So Routh-Hurwitz criteria actually tell us the stability of the system, and this is only workable when we have a closed loop transfer function and we need the characteristic equation, that is the denominator, and we use that denominator algebraic equation to identify the stability of the system. Now first thing is first that for Routh's criteria, the basic idea is to identify the system stability. Okay, so we are not able to actually identify the location, but we can, but not all the time. So but we know that how many poles are at the right of plane and how many poles at the j omega axis and how many poles at the left of plane using the Routh's criteria. So for Routh's criteria, the basic thing that we have to do is to develop a Routh's table. So what is the Routh's table? So before going to the Routh's table, one thing is that the important thing about stability is the poles, and poles is normally roots of the denominator. So we are not bothered about the numerator, so that's why it put n of s. So we didn't write equation here because we are not bothering about the zeros here. We are looking the stability, so we are more concerned about the roots of the denominator, that's the pole. So that's why we wrote a fourth order algebraic equation here. So look here, s power 4, so this is the fourth order, and we put a very generalized term here, a4, a3, a2, a1, a0. Now this is the denominator equation that is very important. We have to pick this equation. Okay, first step is to write this equation and put equal to 0. Now this becomes an algebraic equation. Now from here you have to look at the power of the most highest power of this. Here highest power is 4, that is even. Okay, so you have to identify the highest power. Highest power is either even or odd. So even means that you have a number that is divided by 2. Odd means that that is not the case. For example, S4 is an even power. Now what is the next even power? Next even power is S2. What is the next even power? Next even power is S power 0. So you know the even number is 0, 2, 4 and so on. So you have to look at the even powers here. If you start from even, you have to look for even powers. If you start from odds, then you have to look for odd powers. So first thing is, now you have to write the highest power here. So you start from the highest power, you put highest power here. then you put the next power so that you come out to s power 0. Okay, you have to start from the highest power and make a row here. 1 2 3 4 5 rows. Okay, so you just put the powers here. Now the first one, if you have to look if it is even power, so you have to write the coefficient of the highest power first here. So here highest power is the coefficient of highest power is O4. So first of all start writing A4 in this row in front of S4. Okay, so first of all we have to fill this row. Okay, this whole row. Right, so first you have to start with S4 and write the coefficient of S4 here. Okay, after that leave the next S power, that is the odd power, go for the next even power. Now next even power is S square. Now x square coefficient is A2. Now put uh, A2 in next column. Okay, so this is a row of S4. These are the column. This is one column, this is second column, this is third column. Okay, so in first column you have to put A4, in second column you have to put A2, in third column you have to put A0. So look here, this is S power 0, this is S power 2, this is S power 4. So you start with S power 4. Now come to the next row, that is of S cube. Now put the coefficient of S cube, that put is A3 here. Then put A1 here. And there's no cube left, but you have A0 here. You put 0 because there's no coefficient after A1. So just put 0. So these are the two rows you normally fill using the closed loop transfer function denominator. Okay, so just look at the denominator and fill these two rows. Now after that, Routh table. So this is known as Routh table because it has these columns and these rows. So first two rows you fill it using the denominator of the transfer function. Now how you go after that? So after that it's very easy to you have to calculate these remaining rows. How you do that? For example, for S2, how you do that? You calculate it looking at these blocks, these A4, A2, A1 and A3. Okay, so you have to look at these blocks. Now for these blocks what you have to do is that you just okay, for these very simple, you just have to solve a formula, and formula is very easy, and formula says that put minus sign and put the determinant, and determinant of this is the first column. Okay, A4 A3 and A2 A1. Look here, A4 A3 A2 A1 divided by the this last element, that is A3. Okay, so and put minus sign outside. So this is the formula. Just put the determinant against A4 A3 A2 A1 and put minus sign divided by this number A3, which is the first element of second row. Okay, again for next element, because this will give you B1. So this is the first element for S2 that you find in first column is B1. Now for second column what you have to do, you again choose the first column, that is A4 A3. Now leave the second column, choose the next column, that is A0 A0. Now put here, look here, A4 A3 A0 A1, put minus sign divided by same A3, you get B2, second element in the second column of S2. Similarly, you have to find the third element. Again, you have to go for A4, A3, and you already use A2, A1. You already use A0, A0. Now you have to move further. Further, there is nothing, so you put 0, 0, and divided by again same number, that is A3. When you with minus sign the determinant, you solve it, it becomes 0. So you calculate easily the third row by using this formula of the determinant. Now after that, now leave the first row. Now move to, for S1 you have to use S3 and S2 labs rows. So means that you have to use A3, A1 and 0, and also B1, B2 and 0. Okay. Now for finding the first element of S1, okay, beneath here, how you do that? You do the same formula, put minus sign, determinant. Now determinant is between A3 and B1, first row, okay, then A1 and B2, minus determinant divided by B1, because this is the next element, so divided B1, you come up with C1. Similarly for second element, you have to choose A3, because you have to left the upper row, you have to start with A3 and B1, then you do not use this row, you have to use this column, you have to use the second column, that is 0 0. So put 0 0 and you calculate C1, 0 and 0. Now after that, for last row, now you have to use row of S2 and S1. Now I have to use a row of S2 and S1. Now again it becomes B1 C1. Look here, it becomes B1 and C1. Then I have to use B2 0. Look here, B2 0 and minus divided by this element, that is C1, first column's element. So C1, it becomes D1. Similarly, remaining becomes 0. So this is the way you can create the table. So this is very important to create the table. When you do the table, you remember one thing. In table, this table, the first column is very important. So this is the first column in the table, okay, which has A4, A3, B1, C1 and D1. So this is the important column that help us to identify the stability of the system. Now to understand this concept, it's better to do a quick example here. Now look here, this is an example. Make the route table for the system shown in figures. Now for this system, so don't, remember one thing, don't do this mistake, try to solve this. No, first of all you have to take the closed loop transfer function. Now when you calculate the closed loop transfer function, if it is not given to you, you have to calculate the closed loop transfer function. That gives you this polynomial. Look here, this is third order polynomial. Now we have to make the routes table for this polynomial. So first of all, we have to start from S3, then S2, then S, then S power 0. Now look here, the highest power is the odd one, so we have to, in first row we have to put the coefficient of the odd row. For example, S3 coefficient is 1, S1 coefficient is 31. Similarly for second, we have to put 10 and 1003. So let's look at the example how we put it. Look here, now S cube, I put S cube here so that I know that I start from S cube. Now what is the coefficient of S cube? Is 1 here. Now I put 1 here, and then I move to next one and next column, and I put 31 because the S1 is the odd one, so I put 31 here, and after that there's no number, I put 0 here. Okay, I stop. Now I move to the next column, that is the S2 here. Look here, this is S2. Now for S2, what is the coefficient of S2 is 10. I put 10 here. After that, what is the coefficient of S power 0 is 10, 0, 3, 0. Then after that, there's no point. I just put 0 here. Okay. So the basic idea is that in these whole rows, we can divide with a particular number. So we can make ourselves easy with calculation. Look here, we can divide this by 10. When we do that, it becomes 1 and it becomes 103. Just zeros cancelled out. Now this becomes a new row. We can do this manipulation. We can divide whole row with a single number so that we have a less number, because we need to calculate a determinant and things get messy. Now these two rows we calculate using this denominator. Now for S1, we have to use the formula, and formula says that you have to put 1 1 and 3 and 103 in the determinant, put minus sign and put this number as a divider. It becomes minus 70. So this is the first parameter. For second parameter 1 1, put this one 0 0 and divided by this one with minus sign, so it becomes 0. Again the last one is also 0. So the next row becomes minus 72, 0 and 0. Now if we move to the next row, now for next one you have to use this 1 and 72. Look here, 1 and 72, because we have to left the above row. Now after that for column you have to put 103 and 0. Look here, 103 and 0. Now divide by this minus 72. Look here, this minus 70. This minus is with the formula. Okay. Now after we solve it, it becomes 103. Now similarly for next one we have to choose use same 1 minus 72, but we have to use this one, that is 0 and 0. We put 0 0 here because we have to left this, we have to move to this one 0 0. So we put 0 0. We solve it, it becomes 0 again. There's nothing, we put 0 0 also 0. So this is the way. And one thing you have to remember, that when you reach s power 0, normally you have only one parameter left and all remaining are 0. This normally happens in the route table. Now for we calculate this thing. Now question is, how we know that this system is stable or unstable? So the criteria that we can use from the table to solve the stability, what we do actually, we look at the column here. Look here, the sign of first member in the column is positive, second sign is positive, then after positive the sign is negative. So after negative sign is positive. So we have to just look at the change in the sign. If there is a change in the sign, so this means that system is unstable. So look here, this is plus plus, then minus, then minus, then plus. So this means that this is an unstable system. So sign is changing here from positive to negative in first column. So this means that system is unstable. Now how many times sign is changing? For example, we have positive to negative, then negative to positive. So there are 2 times that sign is changing. So this means that we have 2 poles that lies at the right of plane, or we have 2 unstable poles. Okay, when we have 2 times sign changing, so this means that 2 poles lies on the right of plane of the S plane. So now interpreting the basic rule, the criteria is that now what is the criteria? The Routs-Hurwitz criteria declares that the number of roots of the polynomial that are in the right of plane is equal to the number of sign changes in the first column. So we look at a previous example, we have 2 sign changes. So this means that 2 poles at the right of plane. So means system is unstable. So this really helps us to solve this problem. Now this is another example that you can do it by yourself. To pause the video, just try to make a table for this, and it's very easy to make a table. So what you have to do, look at the highest value is 7. So you just write s power 7, then s power 6 up to s power 0 on the first column. Then you write the first column. Okay, so for first column, because you start with the odd number, okay, so the first coefficient you have to write is 3. Then in next column you have to write 6. In next column you have to write 7. In next column you have to write 2. In next column there's nothing, you put 0. Again for s power 6 in second row you have to start with 9, then put 4, then put 8, then put 6. Okay, after doing this, apply this formula to calculate for s power 5, or in next row you apply this formula to calculate the next number, and so on. You can make a table for this example. Okay, now what we discuss here is that we understand what is how Routs criteria work, and Routs criteria is very simple. It works on looking at the denominator and put in the columns of the first in the look at the columns of the routes table, first column of the routes table. After completing the route table, if there is a sign change, means that you have unstable poles. The number of sign change indicates the number of right of poles in the S plane means that your system is unstable with that number of. Now in Raoult's criteria we have some special cases. So you look here, the main idea is in the first column of the Raoult's table. Now if there is something, for example, you know that first thing is that we didn't know the sign of 0. 0 has no sign, neither positive nor negative. So idea is if we come up with a 0 in the first column, then what we have to do? This is the first case that we have to, this is the first of the special case that 0 only in the first column. Okay, so you have only one 0 come in the first column. How you solve that problem? So what we do, we normally solve this problem by assigning removing the 0 with a epsilon, a small positive number, and we will continue our table. So we will make our table, and this will help us to identify stability as well. Okay, now let's understand how this will work. So let's suppose this is a closed loop transfer. It is written that this is a closed loop transfer, so we have to use this denominator. So it is start from S5, so we put S5 here. Okay, then we put S4 here, then we put S3. Okay, good. Now after that we have to fill in the blanks here. So this is the first column, so we have to fill the first column. So we start with the coefficient of S5, that is we put 1 here. Then we will move to S3, coefficient is 3, we put 3 here. Sorry, here 1 and then 3. Then after that S power 1 is 5, we put 5 here. Now we move to next row. Next row is of S4 and we start with 2 here, we put 2 here. Then we put 6 here, and for S power 0 we put 3 here. So this what we can easily write 2 rows from this denominator of transfer function. Now after that we have to calculate the next row, and the next row we have to use the formula. And you remember the formula? Formula was very easy. You have to take the determinant of 1, 2, 3, 6 with minus sign divided by this number, that is 2. When you do that, you come up with a number that is 0. Okay. For next number, what you have to do, you have to take the determinant of 1, 2 and 5, 3 with minus sign divided by 2. When you do that, it becomes 7 by 2. Now the next number, how you do that? 1, 2, then there's no we already use that, we use 0, 0, we put 0, 0, it becomes 0 divided by 2, that is 0. So this is the way we can come up with that. Now because that creates a problem here, first element becomes 0. Why it becomes a problem? Because we have to divide by this 0. When we divide anything by 0, it becomes infinity. So this is another mathematical problem that we have to solve when we apply the formula. So what we do, we replace this 0 by an epsilon. Look here, we cut the 0, we put epsilon here, which is a very small number. Okay, so this is a positive small number. Okay, now when we put the epsilon, we can able to solve the or write the next row here. How we do that? We take the determinant 2 epsilon 6 7 by 2 epsilon divided by epsilon. When we solve it, it becomes 6 epsilon minus 7 divided by epsilon. This is what we get. So after that we write this thing. Now after that next equation we calculate by taking determinant of 2 epsilon 3 0 with minus sign divided by epsilon. When we do that, it becomes 3. Okay. After that we put 2 epsilon 0 0, it becomes 0. Okay. Now we calculate this as 2. Now after that we have to calculate S1. So we easily do that. So now we have to use epsilon 6 epsilon minus 7 divided by epsilon. Take the determinant with 7 by 2 3, put minus sign outside divided by 3 epsilon minus 7 divided by epsilon. When you solve this, you come up with this relation. So this is the relation that we calculate. Okay. Now after that you use same epsilon 6 epsilon minus 7 divided by epsilon with 0 0, and you solve it, it becomes 0. Again next is also 0. Okay. Now you fill the S1 row as well. Now you move to the last row. For last row you have to use same thing. You have to use this 6 epsilon minus 7 epsilon divided by epsilon and 42 epsilon minus 49 minus 6 epsilon square divided by 14 epsilon minus 14. Take the determinant with 3 0, it becomes 3, and divide by this number and it becomes 3. Okay, now the remaining part is 0. So this means that you complete the route step. Now question is, what is the stability of the system? For stability we have to look only for first column. So this is the first column. Now I write this first column here. So look here, I just wrote here first column separately. So it becomes 1 2 epsilon 6 epsilon minus 7 divided by epsilon, and so on. Now to understand how we calculate the value of what you say, that look at the sign of the first column. So we have to look at the sign of the first column. So what is the sign of 1 is plus, what is sign of 2 is plus. So I wrote here sign is plus and plus. Now what about epsilon? Now assume that epsilon has a positive sign. It has a very small number, for example 0.0001. So in that case sign is positive. So we have a positive sign. Now when we multiply 6 with 0.1, it becomes 0.6. When we subtract it from 7, it becomes minus. So the next sign becomes minus. Again move to next here. Again when we put point here, point 1 here, point 1 here, when we do the subtraction and divide it by a negative number as well, so overall sign is positive. Okay. Now again last 3 is, we know that this is positive. So this is the way we can calculate the sign when we use epsilon as a very small positive number. When we do the negative number, you can have the same thing. Okay, sign is changing alternatively. So now what about the stability of the system? Either system is stable or unstable. So very simple. Positive to positive, positive to positive, positive to negative. You have one sign change, negative to positive. You have two sign change, then positive to positive. So this means that two sign change. So you have two unstable poles in the system, or you have two poles that lies at the right of plane. So how you verify this? In MATLAB you just type roots and start with a small bracket, then start with a uh, capital bracket, large bracket, and put 1 2 3 6 5 3 with the space in it, and close the capital large bracket and the small bracket, and enter. You calculate the roots and you see that there are two roots that has positive values, real positive values. So that's why this is a unstable system. In other words, this is a transfer function. Use ZP map, ZPK, what you say, uh, function in the MATLAB. It can draw the root location for you in ASCII. Okay. Now this is the one case that we can have. So for example, this is a stability. So you have a coefficients, and you look here, there's two sign change, so you have two unstable poles. Okay. Now the next special case is that if in previous case only we have only one element in first row is 0, remaining is non-zero, but what happened if entire row is 0? How you progress then? So for that case, if for example if we look at in an example, so this is the example, that is S5 plus 7 S4 plus 6 S3 plus 42 S square plus 8S plus 56. So if we just make the table, so we have to start with S5 then S4. Look here, S5 S4. So S5 we have to put 1 here coefficient, then 6. Look here, 6. Then we have to put 8. Okay. For next row we have to put 7 here, then we have to put 42 here, then we have to put 56. We know that we can divide with 7, so it becomes 1, 6 and 8. Now we know these two rows using the closed loop transfer function from the denominator. Now after that we have to plug the formula. Formula says that take the determinant of 1166, put minus sign outside, divided by this number, that is 1. When you do that, it becomes 1. Okay. Now again for 1188, when you do that, it becomes 0, not 1, sorry, it becomes 0. Okay, because these are same numbers, so it becomes 0, 0. So whole row is 0 in this case. Whole row is 0 in this. How we solve this problem? So we can't move to next row because we are unable to do that, because it is 0. When we divide something by 0, it is not a number. So how we do that? Okay, what we do, we can solve this by looking at the previous row, and previous row is s power 4. Now look at an equation of s power 4. You can write the equation from here, that s coefficient is 1, so put s power 4 plus, what is the next coefficient? Next coefficient is of s square because of even number, so I wrote plus 6s square. Okay, plus the next is s power 0, I put 8 here. So this is the coefficient and I make it as a polynomial. Okay, so I make it an auxiliary polynomial by just writing the coefficients and put plus sign with the power of s, okay, from the previous row. Now when I do that, because look here, this is power s power 4 and this is power 3. Now how we can convert 4 to 3? So there's one way of doing it. In mathematics, if you take the derivative of s4, it becomes s3. Now same thing we can do here for this polynomial, which is we know as auxiliary polynomial. Just take the derivative. Now when we do that, when we take the derivative, it becomes 4s cubed plus 12s plus 0. Now look here, this is for s cube. Now we have the coefficient for s cube is 4. Look here, I put 4 here. Then we have a coefficient for s, because this is cube and then this is s power 1. So I just plug the 12 value here. After that there's no value, I put 0. Okay. Now we can divide with 4, it becomes 1 and it becomes 3. So this is the row we can come up when we have entire row is 0. So it becomes 1, 3 and 0. Now after that, now we can go for S2 as well. For S2 you have to use 1, 1 and 6, 6. Take the determinant, divided by this 1, it becomes 3. Again 1, 1, 8, 0. Take the determinant with minus sign, divided by this 1, it becomes 8. And again it becomes 0. So this way you can continue the next row. Now after that, you continue the next row by 1, 3, 3, 8. With minus determinant divided by 3, it becomes 1 by 3. After that, you have to take 1, 3, 0, 0. With minus sign divided by 3, it becomes 0. Again it becomes 0. Okay. Now for last one, so for s of 0, again use 3, 1 by 3, 8 and 0. Normally you have this variable coming into it. So it is 8. Always look here, it becomes 8, 8 and 8. So and remaining is 0, 0. So this is the way you can fill up the table. Now after you filling up the table, just calculate the stability. Now look here, if you look at the stability of the system, this is positive, 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 positive. So this means the system from the routes table, system is stable. But we know that the whole row is 0. So due to this 0, we have some poles at the j omega axis. So what are those poles that lies on the j omega axis? So we can solve those poles easily. So look here, we have this for j omega axis. We have to solve this auxiliary equation and put equal to 0. So from here we calculate the poles that lies on the j omega axis. Look here, we have 4 j omega axis because this order is 4. Now let me complete this example. So if I put this p of s equal to 0, it will give me j omega axis, imaginary poles, and there are 2 poles, okay, on the j omega axis. Okay, so 2 pairs of poles that lies on the j omega axis. So this means that if there are more than one pair of poles that lies on the j omega axis, so in that case, system is unstable. Now there's another example with s power 8. Now we can do that with same, just start with s power 8 and then put s power 7. So coefficient of s power 8 is 1, coefficient of s power 6 is 12, 39, then 48, then 20, then we have 1, we have 22, we have 59, we have 38 and 0. When we solve this, this become -1, -2, 1, 2 and 0 and so on. So in this row S3 we have 0, 0, 0, all row is 0. So how we do that? We take this row and take the derivative, and this row becomes, look here, coefficient is 1, so it becomes S4 plus 3s square plus 2. Now take the derivative of this. So when we take the derivative, it becomes 4s cubed, so I wrote 4 here, then it becomes 6s, I write 6 here. Now when I divide it by 2, it becomes 2, it becomes 3. Okay, now after that we continue it, and still at the end we complete the table here. Now this table is complete. If you look at the first, there's how many changes? So look here, positive to positive, positive to negative, negative to positive. So this means that you have two unstable poles or two right of plane poles. Okay, now then you have a positive to positive, positive to positive, positive to positive. So but look here, this is the fourth one where we get the 0. So means that you have two right of poles, 4 j omega, because you have two pairs and number of poles are 4, so you have 4 j omega poles, and you have 2 left of, because you have 8 poles, because this is power 8, so you must have 8 poles. So look here, so this table explains this thing, that right of plane, even fourth is 0, other fourth other 2, total total you have 2 actually right of plane, you have 2 left of plane, you have 4 actually, even number fourth order, so that's mean you have 4 j omega axis poles, or in other words you can say that you have 2 pairs on j omega axis. Okay, so this is the way we can use this Rouse table to identify the criteria. Now I will stop here for this video, and in next video we will try to go through it again, and also use this method for designing the controller. Thank you.